Hey everyone, my name is Penny Zanker, and it's time to reset. This podcast goes beyond just navigating change. It's about new ways of thinking about how you can approach challenges, how you can shift your mindset when needed, create some space and grace for yourself so that you can rethink, recharge, and reprioritize when and where needed. Are you ready to unlock your full potential? Thank you for hitting play and sharing this next episode with me. It's time to reset. Hello, and welcome to Take Back Time, which is soon to be migrated to Time to Reset. Today's topic is an important one. It's something that I talk about and how we can simplify the way that we approach things. It's simple, and yet it's super powerful. It's the fact that things work until they don't. Duh, right? But the thing is, we forget that. We fall in love with models, with best practices, with strategies. But if we forget the context, we risk getting stuck in that best practice or in that model or strategy that are no longer relevant for the current situation. Because success isn't about clinging to what worked before. It's about adapting in real time, right? That's the whole principle of the reset mindset, and taking these reset moments so that we can stay relevant and then we can recognize what's working and double down on what's working and really understand it, but understand what's not working and adapt and adjust real time. So think about it. What's a best practice? It's something that worked really well in a specific context, but what happens when that context shifts? All too often, we keep following the same playbook even when the game has changed. So let's look at the best leaders, the best athletes, and the best innovators. They're not the ones who find one formula and stick with it. They're the ones who sense when it's time to shift, that they understand as the context is changing, as their situation is changing. And we live in an age of rapid change, right? So context is everything. So I want you to make sure that you're paying attention to the context and the situation. And that's what's different now, is understanding that we have never before lived in a world where things are changing so quickly. And the signals are there, those subtle shifts, right, are there, that when you recognize them, it helps to create a competitive advantage for you to be able to adapt and adjust more quickly, let's say, than those around you. But the important thing is that we have to embrace the three tenets of the reset mindset, which is to be focused on value creation, and secondly, be willing to let go of what once made you successful, right? Be willing to reinvent. And then lastly, to dynamically reassess, right? To be aware and reassessing the relevancy and the context in which we find ourselves. So we have to keep testing and adjusting instead of assuming that there's one way. We have to let go of previous best practices. And let's take some examples, right? For instance, if we go back and use some traditional examples, right? Nokia, I use this example a lot, that Nokia was at the forefront of their marketplace. They practically created the mobile phone and the mobile phone marketplace, but they didn't adapt and adjust as things were changing. And then the market that they created left them behind. So you don't want that to be you, right? And then the classic Blockbuster, right? Rejecting streaming because they think that people like to go to the store. Things are changing. Behaviors are changing now. I have a couple of examples myself. So if I think about, I'm looking for somebody to help me to really get the most out of my marketing, let's say. My ads, for instance, have been doing abysmal. And so I look for experts who can help me in this space. And people tout the expertise that they have and all of the growth that they've achieved for a particular client or in a particular industry. But time after time, I find as I've hired different specialists, they may have success in one context, but they weren't able to repeat it for me because my context, my customer base, and right, the positioning is different. And so they weren't able to repeat it. So we need to also be able to ask questions when we're looking to purchase someone else's model or best practice. Is this really right for us? And will this work in the changing marketplace that we're in, right? That's something that's key and critical. Let's see a couple of other examples that I'd love to give you in terms of things work until they don't and understand when contexts are changing. I've shared about in a couple of different videos that I've been a big proponent of morning gratitude. And for years, I think almost 14, 15 years, I had been writing in a gratitude journal. But somehow, sort of the spark of how it left me feeling wasn't really there anymore. I was kind of just going through the motions with my gratitude. So it's not that the gratitude in me disappeared, but it wasn't the way that I was expressing it in this gratitude journal wasn't really lighting me up anymore. So the key is to recognize it as quickly as possible when something's off, right? And instead of staying with it too long, which is where our tendency is, because we don't want to let go or we think we'll just push through. And I recognize, well, I can express gratitude in a lot of other ways. I don't need to write it in a journal. So I started to acknowledging people, and showing gratitude by thanking them or doing something special for them because of, or sharing a specific thing that they said or did that made a difference for me. Maybe I would write some special thank you notes to people, like take the time to write a snail mail, right? A special thank you note and really just turning that gratitude into action. Instead of being passive and writing it down, I needed it to be more than just a reflection. And then it started to fill me with that meaning and joy that I had been missing by writing it in the gratitude journal. So, right, things work until they don't. Another example in business is that I had a play park, a kids' play park, and we had used a franchise that we had brought over from Spain to bring to Switzerland. And we had thought that we had a perfect model. It's worked very successfully in Spain. But for some reason, it wasn't working in Switzerland, right? The model was solid. The brand was strong. And kids, well, they like to play everywhere, right? But the thing is that we missed something, is that we were in a different culture. And this culture behaved differently. They had different routines, they had different schedules. Even, the parents are different in what they want, and the children were different in what their schedules, and it just wasn't a fit. And it was something that we didn't see, and we almost didn't see until it was too late because in Spain, they're late people, right? So the fact that the store didn't open until 2 o'clock for kids to come and play was perfect because they started things late and they were open late, and that's what people wanted. But in Switzerland, they were early birds and they wanted to go early, right? And to experience it in a different way. And so it was only when we recognized that we were trying to run the business based on the Spanish model and that it wasn't a fit. It was like a square peg in a round hole. So we had to make some modifications to make things work in Switzerland for the culture and the preferences and the behaviors that people had there. So it's another example of you can't just trust the model and say that the model works. Every model, every practice needs to be reviewed on a regular basis to make sure that it's still working the way that it's intended and that works and is relevant for the situation and the behaviors of those that you're working with, right? So if we look at leadership today, right, we have four or five different generations in the marketplace right now. And each of those has different needs and behaviors. And so you need to be in your leadership more context oriented to understand who it is that you're talking to, who it is that you're working with, so that you can make sure you're meeting people where they're at, so that you can help to lead them in today's marketplace. So remember that context is everything. So I'm bringing you back to the main statement for you to remember. Things work until they don't. Things work until they don't. Here's my action, my call to action for you is to think about something that has worked well in the past, but maybe isn't working that great anymore. Or maybe you're starting something new and you're using a model or a strategy, right? Is there a place for you to step back, right, and get some perspective on your relevant and current situation, and then make some adaptations for the current situation that you're in? So the main takeaway, things work until they don't. If you want to maximize any situation, don't get lost in the model. Stay present to the moment. Success isn't going to be found in a single strategy. It's found in your ability to read and respond to what's happening now in your current situation. So keep resetting, keep adapting and adjusting. And that's our message for today. Thank you for tuning in. And please do share this with friends. Let me know what you think. Come join me on Time to Reset on Substack, where we'll have regular newsletters, and it's completely free at the moment. All of the effort is going into building this community so that I can have more direct contact with you, that I can hear, what do you want to hear about, or what difference did this episode or the content that I'm providing, what difference did it make for you? Because I really want to, create a more deeper relationship with you, because it's time to reset for all of us. So thanks again for being here. My name is Penny Zanker, and we'll see you in the next episode. Hey, thank you for spending this time with me. It really means a lot. If you're feeling a little off, distracted, overwhelmed, stuck, or just out of sync, remember that's your signal to reset. And that's all it takes, just recognizing one reset moment at a time. So stay tuned for more tips, tools, tricks, stories, strategies, all here on Time to Reset. We'll see you in the next episode.